Hey guys, tonight we're going to take a slow, sleepy dive into one of the strangest things your brain does: dreaming. You're about to slip out of your waking world and into a quiet, drifting current where time bends, logic breaks, and familiar faces rearrange themselves into impossible places. Honestly, if this place had a Yelp review, it'd be 1 star for comfort, 5 stars for weirdness. Before we begin tonight's journey of discovery, I just have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying this peaceful little corner of science, feel free to hit the like button or subscribe so you won't miss any of our upcoming nighttime explorations. It really helps this small channel grow, and it means a lot to me. If you're still awake enough to type a few words, I'd love to know. Where in the world are you listening from? And what time is it where you are right now? There's something so lovely about seeing science quietly stretch across time zones, shared together in stillness. I truly hope this story is gentle enough to help you drift off to sleep, but there's always a small risk. It might be too interesting, and if you do stay awake through the whole thing, at least you'll walk away with a bit of new knowledge. And honestly, that's not a bad reason to lose a little sleep. Now, take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. Let's begin. You're lying still. The room is quiet, and the day is slowly peeling away from your body. One by one, muscles go offline, fingers loosen, shoulders soften. Your eyes feel heavier, though you're not quite sure when they last blinked. You're not asleep yet, but you're no longer fully here, either. You're in that liminal hallway, the one between awareness and whatever comes next. The ceiling fades, not visually, not yet, but conceptually. You're still looking at it, but it's just a backdrop now. Your thoughts start to feel oddly detached. Images drift through, uninvited but harmless. A duck on a bicycle, the smell of old laundry, your third-grade math teacher whispering about oranges. None of it makes sense, but you don't question it. You just observe. Your body starts to feel like it doesn't belong to you anymore. A warm floatiness hums at your edges. You might twitch a little, a foot kicks, a finger jumps. These hypnic jerks are harmless, just your muscles checking in one last time before lights out. Then the real transition begins. Your brain, like a well-trained stage crew, dims the lights and rearranges the set. The spotlight of full consciousness flickers out. Somewhere deep inside, your thalamus, that walnut-sized hub in the middle of your brain, begins dialing down your external awareness. It's like closing 100 windows in your house so the wind won't get in. You're not listening to the world anymore. You're turning inward. Your breathing slows. Your heartbeat finds a sleepy rhythm. Your body temperature drops by about 1 or 2 degrees. It doesn't sound like much, but your whole internal system is shifting gears. Your parasympathetic nervous system, the one in charge of rest and digest, takes over the controls. The high-alert daytime systems go quiet. Even your brain waves have changed. While you're awake, they're busy and chaotic. Fast little zips and zaps of electrical chatter, but now they're slowing down. Scientists call these slower, rolling waves, alpha and theta patterns. Imagine the difference between someone frantically tapping their fingers and someone softly stroking piano keys. That's the shift your brain is making. And as it changes, so do you. Your sense of time, for example, starts to go fuzzy. You're not tracking minutes anymore. Seconds blur. You couldn't tell someone how long you've been lying here if you tried. You've exited the mechanical time of clocks and entered the biological time of dreams, the kind where things stretch, loop, and fold in on themselves like a soft origami universe. And this is just the start. Sleep isn't a single state. It's more like a staircase. And right now, you're only a few steps in. The scientists who map these stages often describe them like descending levels in a quiet building. Stage 1 is the lobby. Easy to enter, easy to leave. That's where you are now. You might hear sounds that aren't real. A whisper, a footstep, a door closing in the distance. These are called hypnagogic hallucinations, and they're surprisingly common. Your auditory cortex is still powering down, and sometimes it mixes up signal with silence. And the visuals, they get weird too. You might see flashes of color or dreamlike images, a mountain dissolving into glass, a city made entirely of spoons, a familiar face that suddenly has cat eyes. These aren't full dreams yet. They're more like dream static, a creative warm-up act. The curious part is, even though none of this feels deliberate, your brain is following an ancient script, one shaped by evolution, refined by biology, and rehearsed every night of your life. You are, at this very moment, becoming a version of yourself you only meet in the dark. It's easy to forget that sleep is an active state. We think of it as doing nothing, but your body and brain are working behind the scenes like a backstage crew changing scenery in the dark. They clean up neurotransmitters, repair cells, reboot emotional pathways. It's maintenance with a soft lullaby, and soon you'll descend further. Past stage 1, into deeper sleep, where dream fragments find structure, where storylines begin. But for now, you linger here, half submerged, half awake, drifting in the shallows of unconsciousness. The doorway to dreams is just beginning to creak open. Some scientists still debate whether this early stage serves a clear evolutionary function, or if it's simply the byproduct of slowing down. Is this liminal zone a vestigial echo or a critical bridge? No one knows for sure, but it's peaceful here in the mystery. So you remain still, breathing, softly suspended in transition, and with that, the dream begins to whisper. You slip deeper now. The ground beneath your thoughts grows softer, and what little awareness you had of your room fades like fog at dawn. Stage 2. Sleep settles over you like a cool, weighted blanket. It's quieter here, not just around you, inside you. This is where your body begins serious repairs, and your brain starts rearranging itself for the night ahead. It's not dramatic. In fact, it feels like nothing. But a lot is happening behind the curtain. Your brain waves slow even more, shifting into patterns called sleep spindles and K-complexes. Sleep spindles are like tiny bursts of electrical activity, short, fast flickers that show up unexpectedly. Scientists think they help protect you from waking up too easily. It's your brain's way of saying, shh, stay under. K-complexes, on the other hand, are large, slow waves that sweep across your brain like soft thunder. Some believe they help process external noise, making sure you only wake if something truly matters, like a fire alarm, not a creaky floorboard. You're less likely to wake now, but you're not fully disconnected. A whisper might still sneak in. A door closing down the hall. The sound of your own breath. But instead of pulling you back to waking, your brain absorbs it into the story that's beginning to unfold. Because even though you're not dreaming yet, not really, The pieces are moving into place. Picture your brain as a theater after hours. The audience has gone home. The stage is dim, but backstage, the tech crew is bustling. Someone's checking the lights. Someone else is laying out props. The script isn't finished, but a few lines have been scribbled down. A half-formed character waits in the wings. It's all potential. This is stage 2, the dress rehearsal for the dreaming world. And you're the main character, the playwright, the entire set, all at once. A little deeper, and you begin to feel nothing, not in a bad way, in the way a lake feels nothing when a feather touches its surface. Your muscles go fully limp, but not dangerously so. Your brain keeps careful tabs on everything: heartbeat, temperature, breath. But your conscious mind is starting to clock out. The thalamus, remember it, continues its work as your sensory gatekeeper. Most incoming signals are blocked or filtered. You won't hear the hum of the refrigerator anymore. You won't feel the sheets adjusting around your toes. You're untethered now, and it's exactly how your brain wants it. Your eyes, behind their closed lids, might flicker a bit. Not the rapid darts of REM, that comes later, but tiny, almost imperceptible shifts. Your body is preparing. It knows what's coming. At this point, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, logic, and impulse control, is dialing way down. This is key. It's why dream logic is so strange. You'll accept things that don't make sense. A cat driving a car? Sure. Your childhood bedroom floating in space? Of course. No questions asked. Because the part of your brain that usually raises an eyebrow and says, "Wait, what?" Well, that part's napping now. This suspension of disbelief is not a glitch. It's a feature. By shutting down judgment, your brain opens up creativity. It starts stitching together memories, thoughts, and emotions into something that doesn't need to follow rules. And while this might sound chaotic, there's a rhythm to it, a biological beat. The brain cycles through these sleep stages in a predictable pattern, about every 90 minutes. Stage 2 is the most time-consuming part of that cycle. In a typical night, you'll spend nearly half of your total sleep time here, not dreaming, not deeply unconscious, just drifting, sorting, resetting, and while it may feel like nothing is happening, this is when your body performs some of its most important work. Tissues repair. Growth hormones are released. Blood sugar levels stabilize. Your immune system gets a tune-up. All while you float weightless inside your own skull. Scientists still debate whether stage 2 has direct cognitive benefits, like improving memory or learning, or if its purpose is mainly physical. Some research suggests those sleep spindles we mentioned earlier help with motor learning and mental consolidation. Others think they're just the brain's way of saying, "Stay down, stay quiet. We're busy in here." Whatever the case, this stage is non-negotiable. People who don't get enough of it, from insomnia, stress, or late-night phone scrolling, tend to feel foggy the next day. Not just tired, but mentally sluggish, like a computer that hasn't fully rebooted. So, while you rest here, with no dreams to report, no images to recall, know this: your brain is working overtime, so your waking self doesn't have to. It's clearing metabolic waste, reinforcing neural pathways, smoothing over the emotional wrinkles left by the day. And even though you're unaware of it, your hippocampus, the brain's memory librarian, is quietly whispering to your cortex, "Hey, remember this," and "Forget that." It's choosing what to keep and what to let go. You won't know it's happening, but you'll feel the difference tomorrow when that trivia fact sticks, or when yesterday's awkward moment doesn't sting quite as much. In this silence, you're changing. There's no drama to it, no flash of insight, just the soft turning of internal gears. The world of waking is gone, the world of dreams is just beyond the curtain, and you're floating in between. And now, as you drift quietly within this velvety in-between, a trio of unsung heroes begins their silent choreography. The thalamus, the hippocampus, and the cerebral cortex. They don't wear capes, they don't speak, but they are the architects of what's to come. If your sleep is a city, these three are the night crew that keeps the lights flickering just right, repainting the walls of thought before sunrise. First comes the thalamus. You've met it already. That walnut-sized relay station nestled deep in your brainstem. During the day, it's a chatterbox. It passes along every sight, sound, and sensation to the parts of your brain that can analyze, respond, react. But at night, it shuts the doors, pulls the blinds. Only essential messages get through. A smoke alarm, maybe, a loud crash. Everything else is muted, redirected, or tucked into dreams. Then there's the hippocampus, a curious, seahorse-shaped structure curled along the inner edge of your brain's temporal lobe. This one is your memory maker. While you sleep, the hippocampus works like a librarian, carefully indexing what happened today. It decides what stays in short-term storage and what graduates to the long-term shelves. It cross-references feelings, locations, voices, and it doesn't always follow logic. That's why you might remember the weird hat someone wore at lunch, but forget the main point of the meeting. Working with them is the cerebral cortex, the vast, folded outer layer of your brain. This is where language lives, where problem-solving happens, where you imagine futures and replay regrets. At night, the cortex goes off script. It plays with ideas like a cat with string, sensory information, random thoughts, and bits of emotion all get tossed into the air. The result? Well, you're getting closer to it, closer to the land of dreams. In fact, something strange is starting to happen. You don't notice it at first. Just a shift in the atmosphere, a gentle detachment from logic. Colors feel warmer, shapes blur at the edges. Familiar things seem slightly off. A hallway that should end at a door keeps stretching. A friend you haven't seen in years walks past holding a fishbowl. You don't question it. It feels normal. Dream normal. Your internal theater is preparing for curtain rise. There's no announcement, no music cue. But behind the scenes, those three brain regions continue their careful coordination. Researchers believe that as these areas interact during sleep, they lay the groundwork for dream generation. The thalamus filters incoming information. The hippocampus replays fragments of memory. The cortex weaves it all together, not with logic, but with emotion, symbolism, and story. But why? Why go to all this effort to create vivid, senseless worlds you'll mostly forget? Scientists still debate whether dreaming serves a distinct function or is simply a byproduct of the brain's nighttime housekeeping. One theory suggests dreams are a way to simulate threats, a safe rehearsal for danger. Another argues that dreams help regulate emotion, letting you reprocess feelings in symbolic form. There's also the memory consolidation theory. that dreaming helps set the things you've learned during the day, like heat sealing knowledge into long-term storage. And then there's the creativity hypothesis, the idea that dreams allow for free association, helping your brain make connections it couldn't while awake. Think of it as your brain brainstorming without judgment, whatever the reason. One thing's certain: dreams don't come from one place. They're not housed in a single dream center. They emerge from collaboration, a neurological group project with no clear leader, but an oddly coherent result. Even now, you're edging toward the point of no return. You're deep enough that waking up would feel jarring. Your muscles are completely relaxed. Your body has entered a state of partial paralysis, a built-in safety feature that keeps you from acting out your dreams. Most of your voluntary muscles are temporarily off the clock. You couldn't jump out of bed right now, even if you wanted to. And that's a good thing, because the cortex is about to get a little wild. Think of it like a sandbox. The usual executive systems, the ones that do your taxes, plan your lunch, and help you avoid saying awkward things at parties, have gone home for the night. What's left is pure creativity, memory, and emotion swirling together in delightful disarray. You're not dreaming yet, but the spark is there. A shape drifts through the darkness. Maybe it's a face. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a whisper from your past, reshaped into a flower, a corridor, a falling sensation. You're no longer aware of your sleeping body. You're slipping into the role of observer, protagonist, and narrator all at once. Time stretches, seconds lose meaning. In the waking world, 20 minutes might pass. In your brain, it could feel like hours, a full story arc, complete with setting, conflict, and resolution, might unfold in less real time than it takes to boil water. That's the peculiar nature of dream temporal distortion. And through all this, those three brain regions, thalamus, hippocampus, cortex, continue their quiet ballet. You don't see them, of course. You're too busy watching the show they've created. But they're the reason the show runs at all. What's remarkable is that we still don't fully understand how they do it. Despite decades of sleep research, brain imaging, and psychology, the precise mechanics of dreaming remain mysterious. We can track brain waves, we can observe blood flow, we can watch the eyes flicker, but we can't quite catch the moment a dream is born. It's like trying to find the exact drop where a river becomes the sea. Yet every night, like clockwork, your brain performs this marvel. Without instruction, without applause, it's almost time for your first real dream of the night. You're ready. The stage is set. And just like that, without ceremony or trumpet, your brain crosses into its most mysterious landscape, the dream threshold. It's subtle at first. You don't realize it's happened. There's no gate, no sudden fanfare. You simply find yourself somewhere. A hallway, a meadow, a planet that looks suspiciously like your high school cafeteria. The laws of physics wobble slightly, and no one seems to mind. Welcome to the early stages of dreaming, where light sleep takes on imagination, and dreams begin to bloom, hazy and fragile like breath on a mirror. You're still not in REM sleep. That wild, vivid realm comes later. For now, you're in a gentle transitional dream state that emerges during stage 2 and stage 3, the quieter layers of sleep that support early dream fragments. These are the dreams that float by unnoticed, the ones that leave no impression, like wisps of cloud dissolving before they're ever seen. But even these soft, passing dreams have purpose. Here, Your brain is gently testing the equipment, playing with memory, bending reality just slightly, running the emotional algorithms in slow motion. It's rehearsal time, not for performance, but for repair. One moment, you're walking down a street that feels familiar. The next, it's turned into a bookstore filled with swimming fish instead of books. Someone hands you a sandwich and says it's urgent. You nod, because of course it is. Why wouldn't a sandwich be urgent? That's the logic of this space. It makes sense while it's happening, and dissolves upon inspection. You're not just watching, you're inside it. You're playing the lead role in a story written on the fly by a committee of tired neurons and memory fragments. There's no fixed plot, no rehearsed lines, but it feels real enough to tug at your emotions. That odd little dream about the sandwich might leave you with a lingering sense of importance, even if you can't say why. The emotions you feel in these early dreams are real, or at least real enough for your brain. You may wake with a subtle sadness, a floating curiosity, or the ghost of a smile you don't remember earning. These early dreams might not make the highlight reel, but they're laying the groundwork for what comes next. Behind the curtain, your brain is still transitioning through sleep cycles. You may pass through stage 3 briefly, deep, slow-wave sleep, where dreaming is rare and muscle repair dominates. Your body sinks into its heaviest stillness there, like a stone dropped in a lake. But even in that stillness, the dreaming mind whispers, and when you return to lighter sleep, which you do, in smooth, predictable rhythms, the dreams come again. Each cycle, they grow bolder. Scientists believe that dreams occurring outside of REM are simpler, less visual, and more concept-driven. They often lack the vivid color and movement of REM dreams, but they're not useless. In fact, they may serve a different function entirely, helping you rehearse reactions, test ideas, or resolve tension in a space where consequence doesn't exist. And perhaps this is the brilliance of these early dream phases. They're your brain's safe room, a simulation lab with no judgment. Here, you can argue with someone who's no longer alive. Here, you can relive a moment that went wrong and try it again. Not consciously, of course, but subconsciously, and that's where change often begins. Your body, meanwhile, is still deeply committed to this process. Heart rate remains low. Blood pressure dips. Breathing is slow and rhythmic. There's a coordination here, as if your physical body knows how important these unreal events are to your emotional life. And in many ways, it does. One theory gaining traction in neuroscience suggests that dreams, even early subtle ones, are how your brain preserves mental health. By allowing low-stakes exploration of difficult or unresolved emotions, you process in metaphor what you can't always face in reality. It might sound poetic, but evolution tends to be efficient. If dreaming were truly useless, it likely wouldn't have stuck around for hundreds of millions of years. And yes, it's that old. Evidence suggests that even reptiles experience primitive forms of REM sleep. Birds certainly do. Dogs twitch and run in their dreams, just like us. You're part of that lineage now. One sleeping creature in a long chain of sleeping creatures, all participating in this quiet rehearsal we call dreaming. You shift slightly in your bed, perhaps unaware. Your sleeping body is active in invisible ways. Your muscles don't move, but your brain does. Tiny circuits light up, tracing imagined landscapes, rehearsing invisible dialogue, rehearsing nothing at all. Your body is still, but your mind is wandering. And then, sometimes, something strange happens. One of these quiet dreams leaves a trace. You wake in the morning and can't quite place the image, but it lingers, a stairwell with no end, a voice without a face, a sense of waiting. It may not mean anything, or it might mean something you'll only recognize years later. The brain doesn't always reveal its motives. Scientists still debate whether these early dream states count as real dreams, or if they're just proto-dreams, early sketches rather than full paintings. But ask anyone who's woken up laughing or crying from one of them, and they'll tell you, real or not, they feel like something. So, here you are, lying in the dark, sailing slowly through the first draft of a dream. Nothing dramatic, nothing clear, but something nonetheless. A quiet becoming. And just ahead, the curtain rises. The curtain lifts, and now you arrive in REM sleep, rapid eye movement, the stage of dreams fully unleashed. If your earlier sleep was like sketching with a pencil in dim light, REM is a burst of watercolor under a spotlight. Colors deepen, movements sharpen, stories grow teeth. This is the realm where your mind stops hinting and starts performing. Your eyes dart beneath your lids, tracking motion in the dream world as though you're truly watching it. They move quickly, left and right, mirroring your dream's perspective, as if you're walking through a market in the rain, then turning down a hallway in your childhood home that suddenly leads to the moon. Whatever you see, your eyes seem to follow, even though your body is completely still. And that stillness is critical. During REM, your brain issues a temporary lockdown on most of your voluntary muscles, your arms, your legs. They're effectively disconnected from movement. Scientists call it REM atonia. It's your body's way of saying, go ahead and dream your skydiving, just don't jump off the bed. Without this paralysis, your body might act out the drama of your dreams. So, for now, you are completely safe in stillness, inside your head. However, chaos wears a costume of meaning. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that usually filters absurd ideas and reminds you how the real world works, is still mostly offline. It's like the boss left the office and everyone else is throwing a creative party. Thoughts are free to blend, mix, explode. A memory from last week might tangle with a smell from 10 years ago. A line from a song you haven't heard in a decade might drift into a scene set on a floating train. And yet, it all feels real, real in the moment. The logic of your waking life isn't gone. It's just suspended, like a book you've put down for a while. In the dream, you don't ask questions. You're too busy living it. The emotions here are intense. During REM sleep, the amygdala, the brain's emotion center, lights up with activity. It's more active than when you're awake. Joy can feel overwhelming. So can fear, or sadness, or awe. That's why you can wake from a dream with your heart pounding, or tears in your eyes, or a smile you don't understand. Your brain has no boundaries in REM. The emotional filters are gone, and everything gets through. This is where the most cinematic dreams unfold. You may find yourself in danger, chased, falling, hiding, or in bliss, reunited with someone long gone, dancing underwater, flying through golden skies. You could be a child again, or someone else entirely. Time, identity, and physics twist freely. One moment, you're in your living room. The next, you're part of an orchestra playing soup bowls with spaghetti. And it all makes perfect sense while you're inside it. Scientists believe this stage of dreaming is essential to emotional processing. That by experiencing feelings symbolically in RM, your brain files away the emotional residue of waking life. It's a bit like cleaning a house by walking through every room and feeling what still lingers. You're not fixing anything directly. You're noticing, re-experiencing, reframing. But it's not all healing. Sometimes, REM dreams veer into confusion or even distress. Nightmares, the darker cousins of dreams, most often occur in this stage. That's partly because of the heightened activity in the amygdala and the lack of regulation from the prefrontal cortex. The brain is unmoderated emotion with a projector and unlimited source material. It's like giving your subconscious a director's chair and saying, "Go wild." And yet, even these intense, unsettling dreams may serve a purpose. Some researchers believe that negative REM dreams help you rehearse responses to threats. If your brain simulates danger while you sleep, it may better prepare you to face it while awake. Like stress rehearsal, but softer, safer. A simulation that ends when your alarm goes off. One of the more surprising facts about REM sleep is how often it returns. You don't just enter REM once per night. Sleep moves in cycles, and every 90 minutes or so, you circle back into REM again. With each return, the REM periods grow longer. The first one might last 5 to 10 minutes, but by the early morning hours, they can stretch to 30, 40, even 60 minutes. This is why you often remember dreams that happen just before waking. They're longer, more developed, and occur when you're closer to consciousness. You may not remember most of your REM dreams, though. In fact, many are forgotten within seconds of waking, but some stay. And those that do often leave behind emotional fingerprints, sensations, questions, moods, not full stories, but fragments. Even now, while your body lies completely still, your mind is staging entire realities. In one corner of your brain, the pons, part of the brainstem, is generating the signals that initiate REM. It sends out messages to paralyze the body and stimulate the visual centers. The occipital lobe lights up, like someone flipped on a projector. The limbic system fires up too, flooding you with feeling. Your brain becomes a movie theater built entirely for one. And you're the actor, the script, and the audience all in one. What's truly strange is that the people in your dreams, the characters you interact with, often behave in ways you didn't consciously plan. Someone you trust betrays you. A stranger gives you wise advice. An old friend you haven't seen in years shows up at just the right time. But you made them. Every word, every glance, every decision, all conjured from within your own mind. And yet, in the moment, they feel independent, as if they've arrived from somewhere else, just to see how you're doing. Scientists still debate whether REM sleep is purely for emotional sorting, or if it plays other roles we haven't uncovered yet. Some propose that it strengthens creative thinking. Others believe it's crucial for integrating recent experiences with old memories, building a continuous sense of self. There's even discussion about whether dreams help us prepare for the future by simulating possibilities, like a mental crystal ball we visit each night. But whatever the explanation, you are here now, eyes flicking beneath closed lids, muscles frozen in peaceful stillness, and your brain, brilliant and unbothered by reality, is letting you fly. You remain suspended in REM sleep, floating through narrative landscapes crafted from memory, instinct, and fragments of feeling. But behind the theater of images is a quieter, more intricate ballet, the chemical soup of sleep itself. Tonight's dream, strange as it may seem, is flavored not only by thought and memory, but by molecules. Your consciousness swims in a mix of brain chemicals that ebb and flow like tides, guiding you through the night stages with precision only nature could choreograph. Melatonin, for instance, plays a critical role before this even begins. Secreted by the pineal gland as darkness falls, it signals that it's time to wind down. You could call it the velvet curtain of the sleep show. It doesn't knock you out. Instead, it whispers. It says, "Get cozy, let go. We're turning the lights down now." Your core temperature drops in response. Your body becomes primed for sleep. Then there's adenosine, the quiet enforcer. It builds up in your brain all day long, like the weight of unread emails piling in your inbox. The more you stay awake, the more adenosine accumulates. It gently pressures you towards sleep, and as you drift off, your body begins to clear it out. That's one reason a good nap feels like wiping the slate clean. But while melatonin and adenosine help initiate sleep, REM depends on a far stranger dance. Neurotransmitters, chemical messengers like acetylcholine, norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine rise and fall at different moments in the night. During REM sleep, acetylcholine levels surge, especially in areas responsible for memory and attention. This is part of why dreams can feel so vivid and focused, even when they make no sense. It's like your brain is wide awake inside a world with no rules. Meanwhile, serotonin and norepinephrine, which help regulate mood, alertness, and inhibition, dip dramatically. Their absence loosens your grip on realism and control. You become more open to the surreal. That's why a dragon offering life advice doesn't feel absurd in a dream. You don't have the usual chemicals around to protest. And dopamine? Dopamine still lingers. It's tied to pleasure and reward. Its presence helps fuel emotional engagement in dreams. That strange dream where you're riding a bicycle made of cake while people cheer. Thank dopamine. It adds drama, meaning, and just the right amount of absurd satisfaction. Your brain isn't randomly mixing these ingredients. It's operating like a deeply intuitive chef, adjusting the recipe in real time. These chemical levels determine not just whether you're dreaming, but how you're dreaming, how vivid, how emotional, how strange. You don't feel these chemicals shifting. You don't notice the rise and fall of molecular tides, but they shape every second of the dream you're in now. They help sculpt landscapes from memory. They soften the edges of fear. They color the clouds, inflate the logic, dim the doubts. Without them, the dream would collapse into static. Scientists still debate whether these chemical changes are causes or effects, whether dreams require the chemistry to begin, or if the chemistry is simply a consequence of dreaming, like asking whether music creates rhythm, or if rhythm creates music. In the dream world, the answer may be both, tangled in feedback loops that operate while you sleep. But there's more to this soup than just emotion and logic. These molecules also contribute to one of sleep's most important roles, memory processing. While your conscious mind plays in surreal scenarios, your hippocampus and cortex are coordinating behind the scenes, deciding what memories get filed, which ones get flagged, and which ones are quietly erased. The neurochemical balance of REM sleep is especially suited for this. High acetylcholine encourages new memory formation. Low norepinephrine prevents emotional arousal from disrupting the process. It's as if your brain sets up a quiet study hall for your memories, complete with soft lighting and no distractions. Sometimes, the memories being processed seep into your dreams. You may find yourself in places you've recently been, talking to people you've just met. The details might be rearranged. A classroom becomes a beach. A new coworker becomes your cousin. But the emotional tone lingers. These aren't random insertions. They're your brain's way of integrating new information with your existing life story. Other times, the dream seems to come from nowhere. No familiar people, no clear memory, just images and feelings, strung together like beads on a thread that only your sleeping self understands. These are often the dreams you forget, the ones that vanish before morning. But they, too, play a role. They may be helping your brain clear out unnecessary clutter, resetting your emotional filters, or simply exercising its creative muscles. And even though your body remains still, your brain is alive with color. Modern brain scans show that the visual areas of the brain are incredibly active during REM sleep, sometimes even more active than when you're awake and actually seeing things. It's as if your brain is running a private movie studio, casting, directing, scoring, and editing a film just for you, all while you lie motionless beneath the sheets. Meanwhile, your heart rate varies. Your breathing becomes irregular. These are normal signs of REM. The brain is busy, and the body reflects that busyness in small, rhythmic waves. Your muscles remain still, except for the occasional twitch, but deep inside, your systems are humming with motion. And somehow, despite all this intricate activity, you feel completely at rest. You aren't aware of neurotransmitters. You don't see serotonin fade or acetylcholine surge, but you live their effects in the shape of a dream, the sharpness of a feeling, the fluidity of a scene. It's a biochemical ballet, and you are both stage and performer. There's something magical in that. Even the most advanced sleep researchers, the ones who track every spike and dip in brain chemistry, still speak of REM with awe. For all we've measured, we haven't unraveled the full mystery. Your dreaming mind may be science, yes, but it's also art, the kind that paints with molecules. So you keep drifting, eyes fluttering, breath slow, and the story continues. Time, in dreams, is elastic. It stretches and folds, vanishes and returns, without ever asking your permission. One moment you're standing in a memory from childhood, the next you're decades into the future in a city that's never existed. You may live out what feels like hours, days, even whole lifetimes within a span of minutes. This isn't your imagination going rogue. It's your sleeping brain's unique relationship with time, one that defies clocks, calendars, and all the rules you cling to while awake. During REM sleep, your brain processes time differently than it does during waking hours. This isn't just a perception issue, it's biological. The areas responsible for timekeeping, particularly the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, go dim during REM. That part of your brain helps regulate rational sequencing, judgment, and, crucially, your sense of time passing. When it's quiet, your mind is free to float, to jump from scene to scene without explanation, to repeat the same moment over and over until it morphs, or to linger in one place for what seems like forever. Even though your alarm clock insists it was only 6 minutes, you don't notice the gaps. You don't ask how long you've been in the dream, or why you suddenly went from your grandmother's kitchen to orbiting Saturn on a chair made of toast. You just go with it. The normal constraints have been released. Linear thinking is on vacation, and your inner narrator is improvising the whole way. This altered sense of time isn't limited to the content of the dream. It affects your perception too. Some people report waking from REM sleep with the distinct feeling that they've been dreaming for hours, only to find that just 15 minutes passed. Others have a full, rich dream within the blink of an eye. Your sleeping mind doesn't care about consistency. It cares about experience, about emotion, about image. Time is bent to serve the dream, not the other way around. Scientists still debate how your brain creates this illusion. Some believe it's tied to the density of dream content, that the more visual and emotional stimuli your brain produces, the longer the experience feels, regardless of how long it actually lasts. Others argue it has to do with how dreams are stored, or not stored, in memory. Without clear entry and exit points, your brain may overestimate how much happened, like walking into a movie halfway through and assuming you saw the whole thing. There's also a theory that REM sleep simulates future planning by compressing time. Just as you might play through a scenario in your head during the day, if I say this, then she'll say that. Your brain does the same at night, but faster, looser, with fewer guardrails. This rehearsal process may be one reason REM sleep boosts problem solving. You're not solving puzzles directly. You're running simulations, trying outcomes, bending time until something clicks. And when it does click, when a moment in a dream feels meaningful, symbolic, or cathartic, it imprints itself. These are the dreams you remember, the ones that glow in memory even years later, not because of what happened exactly, but because of how it made you feel, a deep sense of peace, or grief, or recognition, a voice you hadn't heard since childhood, telling you something simple like, "You're okay." A scene that unfolds with no clear purpose, but leaves you waking up softer somehow. In this way, time inside dreams becomes less like a ticking clock and more like a pool of warm water, something you float in, occasionally stirred by currents, but never fully able to measure. It's a state of being unshackled from forward motion, and your brain, fascinatingly, may crave this detachment. Research suggests that REM sleep isn't just helpful, it's essential for mental restoration. Without it, mood suffers, memory suffers, even perception of time while awake becomes foggy. Your ability to regulate emotion and handle complex decision-making decreases. Some people deprived of REM report waking hallucinations, time confusion, and even a dreamlike disconnection from real life. It's as if the brain, without its nightly theater of elastic time, can no longer trust the rigidity of daylight reality. But when you do get REM, rich, vivid REM, your brain resets, not just chemically or emotionally, but temporally. You return to the waking world refreshed, anchored once again in clocks and calendars, but somehow soothed by the secret freedom you just visited, the freedom where an entire journey can live inside a single moment. This altered time perception may also explain why dreams often feel incomplete. Just as you're starting to understand the dream's logic, or ask a question, or follow a thread, it shifts, the setting changes, a new character walks in, or you wake up. Dreams aren't designed to obey structure. They are more like jazz than symphony, full of motifs, improvisations, sudden departures. That unfinished feeling is part of the design. And here's the quiet wonder. Your brain accepts all of this. It doesn't fight the inconsistency. It doesn't demand a clean beginning, middle, and end. In the dream, you simply go with it. And somehow, in that surrender, you find stories worth remembering. Even now, you're in the middle of one. You may be flying, or sinking, or whispering to a person who no longer exists. You may be moving through time backward, or skipping years with each blink. And though you won't recall the details, your brain is marking the journey, etching little grooves into your emotional landscape, reshaping your internal clock just a bit. So, let time bend, let minutes become hours, let days collapse into seconds. You are not late, you are not early. You are exactly where you need to be, drifting gently through a world where time is a soft suggestion, not a law. And just when you think this realm couldn't grow stranger, you meet someone peculiar in the dream, yourself, but not quite you, not the everyday version that knows passwords and grocery lists. No, this version feels familiar, yet warped. It might look like you, or not. It might act like you, or not. But something in the voice, the manner, the presence, it's undeniably you adjacent, a strange cousin of your waking identity. This is your dream self, the character your mind constructs to experience and navigate the dream. And here's the strange part. It's not always under your control. In fact, many times, the dream self acts independently, taking paths your waking self wouldn't. It says odd things. It does irrational things. It runs, hides, sings in languages you don't speak. And all the while, you, the real you, simply watch it unfold. Scientists have long been fascinated by the phenomenon of the dream self. It raises deep questions about identity. If you can become someone else in your sleep, someone who feels like you but makes choices you wouldn't, then what defines you? Really? Where does the self end and the story begin? In many dreams, you operate in the first person. I walk into the room. I see the storm outside. I feel the fear. But in others, you switch perspectives. You become a third-person observer, watching your dream self from a distance. You float above, looking down on yourself as if watching a film. Or you occupy the mind of someone else entirely, a stranger, a sibling, a cat, a cloud. Identity blurs, then reforms. The boundaries of who you are soften, and your brain is fine with that. Why? Because the part of your brain responsible for constructing your stable, waking identity, your sense of self, isn't in charge right now. The default mode network, which helps weave together past and present into the narrative of you, is significantly less active during REM. Instead, other brain regions take the stage, areas associated with memory fragments, emotion, and visual imagery. You become a composite creature, assembled fresh each night from leftover pieces of your day. And still, somehow, you feel like the emotional continuity persists. Whether you're dreaming as a version of yourself from age 9 or flying around as a talking penguin, the emotional core, the felt experience, remains rooted in something you identify as me. You may not recognize the face, but you recognize the fear, the wonder, the loneliness, the hope. That emotional signature helps tether the dream self to your real self, even when everything else drifts. Sometimes, this identity gets really weird. You may find yourself arguing with yourself, not metaphorically, literally. Two versions of you, standing in a room, debating something, or perhaps your dream self splits mid-scene. You watch one version cry in a chair while another walks out the door. Dreams don't ask permission to bend reality. They just do it. And when they bend identity, they give you the rare opportunity to observe yourself from outside yourself. What's the point of all this? Some scientists suggest that these fractured dream selves allow the brain to process internal conflict. By separating you into different characters, the dream lets your mind explore competing desires, unresolved emotions, or unspoken fears. It stages emotional debates in symbolic form. One part of you says stay, the other says leave, so the dream turns that into two people standing in a kitchen, one opening the fridge, one closing the door. It's quiet therapy in metaphor. Others argue that the shifting dream self is part of cognitive rehearsal. You try on roles, you test boundaries, you see what it feels like to be braver, meaner, sillier. Your mind plays dress up with identity, and in doing so, it stretches the self, expands it, makes room for possibilities. And sometimes, it's just weird for weirdness' sake. You dream you're a mailbox, and somehow, it's deeply emotional. The mail keeps coming, and you can't keep up. The envelopes are wet. You feel responsible. Then you wake up and realize it wasn't about mail, or maybe it was. The subconscious loves symbolism, but it doesn't always translate directly. Sometimes a mailbox is just a mailbox. Other times, it's everything you couldn't say. Scientists still debate whether dreams are deeply meaningful or mostly noise, a kind of neural static. But one thing is certain, the dream self, however strange, is a universal phenomenon. Everyone experiences it. Everyone becomes someone else, in some way, each night. You don't dream as a scientist, a student, a parent. You dream as someone made of memory, mood, and imagination. And this version of you, this shifting character of the night, isn't just a passive viewer. It navigates, reacts, sometimes even controls the dream. You might notice moments when your dream self becomes slightly more aware, when it pauses, looks around, wonders. These are the precursors to lucid dreaming, the rare state where the dream self realizes it's dreaming and tries to take the reins. But even in non-lucid dreams, your dream self is doing something profound. It's reflecting your internal world back to you in strange new shapes. It's asking questions without words, feeling feelings without context, becoming versions of you that never had a chance to live in the daylight. And when you wake up, it retreats, slipping back into the folds of memory, taking its secrets with it. And yet, some part of it lingers. You rise from sleep a little altered, not dramatically, just enough. A shift in mood, a subtle insight, a quiet question you can't quite articulate. That's your dream self, brushing past you on its way back into the dark. So, you sleep on. And it begins again, another version of you, in another place, dreaming another story. The story changes again, softly, without warning. A new scene fades in, and your dream self walks forward, unsure of where they came from or why they're here, but certain they must keep going. It's never quite clear in a dream what the goal is. There's rarely a map, rarely a reason. And yet you move, pulled forward by some invisible thread. What's happening behind the gentle wandering is one of the most essential processes of the sleeping brain: memory consolidation. As you dream, your mind isn't just entertaining itself with strange stories. It's doing quiet, focused work, tending to your memories like a careful gardener, not with scissors and labels, but with time and chemistry and connection. Some memories are kept, others are pruned, A few are buried deep, wrapped in metaphor, awaiting future meaning. All of this happens while you drift through the theater of dreams, unaware of the careful work being done backstage. This memory work isn't isolated to one stage of sleep. It happens throughout the night, in the deep, slow-wave stages and during REM. But REM is when things get interesting. In this phase, your brain doesn't just store memories, it plays with them. It reactivates patterns from earlier in the day, replays them in fragments, and begins stitching them to older experiences. This blending, this cross-pollination of ideas and emotions, is what gives dreams their distinctive texture. You're not watching a perfect replay, you're watching a remix. You dream of being late to school, but it's not your old school. It's shaped like your office, and your teacher is your current boss. The emotion is the same: urgency, embarrassment, anxiety, but the details are rearranged. Your brain is combining past and present, layering feeling over familiarity to build new associations. And this isn't random, it serves a purpose. Research suggests that this dream remixing helps your brain categorize information more efficiently. By weaving new experiences into existing frameworks, your mind strengthens memory networks. It also highlights emotional memories, those charged with fear, joy, or shame, and gives them special attention. This might be why emotionally intense days lead to more vivid or unusual dreams. And while this process is invisible to you, it's incredibly active. During REM, the hippocampus, your brain's memory librarian, works in tandem with the neocortex to move important memories from short-term storage into more permanent homes. This transfer strengthens long-term learning. It's like making a backup copy, then tucking the original safely away. At the same time, unnecessary or redundant data may be quietly discarded, not with fanfare, just a gentle fading into nothing. You won't even know it happened, but the next morning, you might forget a detail that you thought mattered yesterday. That's your brain doing its cleanup. You don't need to remember every face you passed on the street, every snack you saw at the store. Your mind knows what to keep. Even dreams themselves are subject to this pruning. Most vanish upon waking, unanchored to strong emotions or significance. But the act of dreaming, the vivid, surreal reenactments and associations, helps prioritize what matters. Dreams are not just a reflection of memory, they're an editor. And they don't only preserve memory, they refine it. Ever have a dream that clarified something for you? Maybe a situation that felt confusing in daylight made sudden emotional sense in a dream. Or a person you couldn't quite understand appeared in a different form, clearer, more honest somehow. These aren't coincidences. Dreams are a place where the brain runs simulations, testing emotional outcomes in low-stakes environments. The results can stick. There's even evidence that REM sleep helps regulate emotional memories, that by reactivating painful or charged experiences in a dream context, the brain can slowly reduce their sting, like touching something sharp in a painting instead of in real life. The feeling is there, but softened, the edges blur, and over time, the wound begins to fade. Scientists still debate whether this emotional processing is intentional, an evolved purpose, or simply a side effect of dreaming. But many agree that people who get sufficient REM sleep are better at emotional regulation and resilience. Your dream self might not know what it's doing, but your brain does. It's working on your behalf. And sometimes, it gets creative. During memory processing, the The brain may combine completely unrelated ideas into something new. This is where creative insight is born. A musician might dream of colors and wake with a melody. A scientist might dream of flying machines and wake with a design. The brain, freed from logic, allowed to connect distant dots, becomes a fountain of novelty. It doesn't always make sense, but sometimes it sparks something unexpected. There's a long list of inventions and artistic works inspired by dreams: sewing machines, chemical structures, famous melodies. While dreaming isn't a guaranteed generator of brilliance, it's often where raw material emerges. The dream may not hand you the answer, but it might hand you the right question. You probably won't remember most of what your brain is doing tonight. You may wake with only fragments, a hallway, a voice, a vague feeling. But deep in the architecture of your brain, things are changing. Pathways are strengthening. Wounds are softening. Your personal library is being reorganized by a system older than language. So you keep dreaming. Your dream self moves forward, maybe through a crowded party, maybe underwater, maybe into a memory that isn't yours. The world around you bends and loops and dissolves, but underneath the surreal surface, your brain continues its work, quiet, tireless, kind. It's not just dreaming, it's remembering and becoming. Somewhere in this drifting collage of memory and meaning, you pause and wonder, if only briefly, why you dreamed what you did, why that old friend appeared, why the staircase never ended, why your dream self was holding a goldfish and crying, even though no one had said a word. These questions often slip away as quickly as they come, lost to the tide of waking. But they linger for a reason, and they point to something deep: the mystery of dream content. What determines the story of your dreams? Why one theme, not another? Why a scene so outlandish it borders on comedy, and another that brushes against sadness you hadn't touched in years? Scientists have spent decades trying to decode this nightly theater, searching for rules in something that often defies them. And while no single theory has captured the full picture, several offer clues, partial maps to the dream world. One of the most enduring ideas is that dreams reflect your waking life. Known as the continuity hypothesis, it suggests that your daily experiences, thoughts, worries, conversations carry over into your dreams. If you've spent your day preparing for a presentation, you might dream you're on stage. If you argued with someone, they might reappear in your sleep, though perhaps disguised as a talking pineapple. But it's not a one-to-one copy. The dream twists things, rearranges them, strips some pieces away, and amplifies others. You're not dreaming your day, you're dreaming through it, filtering, distilling, reimagining. It's as if your brain is asking, how did that feel? And what does that feeling look like? Sometimes the answer is literal. You feel anxious about an upcoming trip, and your dream self gets lost in an unfamiliar city. Other times, the dream is wildly metaphorical. Your feelings show up as storms, shadows, or rooms that shrink when you speak. Dreams speak in symbols, and you're both the speaker and the interpreter. That's where Freud tried to step in, proposing that dreams disguise unconscious desires, that every object is a symbol, every moment a coded message. While modern neuroscience has moved past many of Freud's specifics, the idea that dreams reflect deeper emotional currents still resonates. Whether or not your dream of riding a horse through a grocery store means anything Freudian, it likely means something personal, a feeling, a need, a fear, a wish. And yet, Not all dreams feel emotional. Some feel absurd, disconnected, a parade of non-events, a hallway that goes nowhere, a phone that rings but doesn't answer. These dreams can feel meaningless, and maybe some of them are, but others may simply be running in the background, part of your brain's internal testing system, checking connections, updating files, like background maintenance in a digital device. There's also the threat simulation theory, the idea that dreams, especially unsettling ones, help you rehearse danger in a safe setting. Evolution may have shaped dreaming to keep you prepared. In this theory, a dream where you're being chased isn't random. It's your mind practicing what it would do if something bad ever really happened. Most people have had some version of the chase dream. Few enjoy it, but perhaps the discomfort is the point. And then there are those dreams that seem helpful. You wake with clarity. A decision feels easier. A problem no longer feels so sharp. These are the dreams that seem to offer advice, not in words, but in feeling. You may not remember what happened, but you carry forward a subtle shift, like your mind whispered something true, and you heard it, even if only faintly. Scientists still debate whether these dream functions are designed or incidental. Is your brain creating meaning or just stumbling into it? Is dreaming a purposeful narrative or the result of random neural firings interpreted after the fact? There are compelling arguments on both sides, but perhaps it doesn't need to be either or. Maybe dreams are part mirror, part sandbox, a reflection of your emotional state, and a space to experiment with it. They don't have to make perfect sense to have value. After all, so much of our waking lives defy neat explanation. Why should dreams be any simpler? And still, the question remains, why this dream? Why tonight? There's no clear answer, but we know certain things influence dream content. Stress, for example, often heightens emotional dream themes. Lack of sleep can lead to more intense or vivid dreams. As the brain crams extra REM into a shorter span, medications, especially those that affect neurotransmitters, can change the tone and clarity of dreams. Even what you eat, spicy food, sugar, alcohol, can tilt the dream stage in strange directions. Then there are external stimuli, a sound in your bedroom, a fan, a dog barking, distant thunder may be woven seamlessly into your dream, transformed into a voice or a crashing wave. The outside world can slip into the script without your awareness. You never notice the intrusion. You only experience the adjustment. And so, each dream becomes a collaboration between your biology, your emotions, your environment, and your personal history. A one-time performance with no rehearsal and no encore. Yet, every so often, the content strikes a chord. You remember a scene so vividly it feels like memory. You wake with a phrase in your mind, a single sentence that doesn't belong to anyone but seems to have meaning. You might write it down. You might forget it by noon. But for that moment, you wonder, where did that come from? Scientists don't have all the answers, but they know this. The content of your dreams is rarely random, even when it appears nonsensical. It's shaped by the architecture of your brain, the chemistry of your sleep, and the inner weather of your life. So, tonight, as your dream self continues wandering through forests of thought and oceans of feeling, remember this. Every strange hallway, every wordless moment, every flying fork or endless staircase, it all comes from somewhere, even if you never find out exactly where. Not all dreams are quiet wanderings through memory and metaphor. Some erupt like sudden storms, shaking you awake with a pounding heart and a body still frozen in fear. These are nightmares, the darker corners of dreaming, where the surreal turns threatening and the gentle rhythms of sleep break into chaos. You don't always remember them, but when you do, they leave behind a trace, a feeling, a weight. Sometimes, even after your eyes open, the fear doesn't quite leave. Nightmares often feel more real than any other dream. You're falling, and the ground never comes. You're running, but something's always just behind you. You try to speak, but your voice fails. The dream world that once drifted and flowed now closes in. Your dream self isn't just watching anymore. They're struggling, reacting, trying to escape. These dreams usually happen during REM sleep, especially in the later stages of the night when REM cycles grow longer and more intense. That's when the brain is most active, not just in imagination, but in emotion. The amygdala, your brain's fear center, lights up brightly. Without the calming oversight of your prefrontal cortex, the part that helps you reason and regulate emotion, fear takes the wheel. And in the world of dreams, fear has a vivid, unlimited stage to perform on. Your body responds. Even though you're not truly in danger, heart rate spikes, breathing quickens, muscles may twitch or tense, stress hormones like cortisol surge, mimicking the physical responses you'd feel if something were actually chasing you. And the thing is, to your sleeping brain, it is real. The monster, the threat, the helplessness. It's all happening in that moment. But as uncomfortable as nightmares are, they might not be pointless. In fact, some researchers believe they serve a crucial role in your emotional health. One theory, known as the threat simulation theory, suggests that nightmares are your brain's way of rehearsing for danger. Like a mental training ground, your brain creates frightening scenarios so you can practice navigating fear safely in sleep. It's evolutionary rehearsal. Your dream self gets scared, runs, hides, adapts. And when real stress arrives, you're better prepared. Other theories propose that nightmares help process unresolved emotions. Feelings too complex, buried, or overwhelming to face directly during waking life may surface in dreams disguised as symbols. An argument from the day before becomes a crumbling bridge. Anxiety about change appears as an endless hallway with no doors. It's not about literal meaning, it's about emotional tone. Your brain paints with feeling, not logic. Sometimes, though, the meaning isn't symbolic, it's direct. Trauma survivors often experience recurring nightmares tied closely to real events. These aren't strange metaphors, but relived moments. In these cases, dreams don't disguise pain. They replay it, night after night. This pattern, while painful, is thought to be part of how the brain tries, and sometimes fails, to integrate overwhelming experience. Nightmares can be symptoms, signals that healing is still unfinished. And yet, not every nightmare is linked to trauma. They can arise from stress, lack of sleep, or even something as simple as eating too close to bedtime. Certain medications or changes in brain chemistry can also trigger them. Sometimes, the cause is elusive. The dream just happens, vivid, alarming, unforgettable, and you wake up clutching the feeling without knowing where it came from. What happens next matters. If you fall back asleep, you might re-enter the dream. It might soften, it might change, or it might vanish completely, replaced by gentler scenes. Other times, the fear lingers. You carry it into the morning like smoke in your clothes. It's not always easy to shake, but over time, most nightmares fade. They lose their edge, they shrink in memory, becoming stories instead of threats. There are even ways to work with them. Some people practice dream rehearsal therapy, consciously rewriting their nightmares while awake and imagining different outcomes. Others keep dream journals, not to decode meaning, but to track patterns. Noticing when and why certain dreams occur can help create emotional distance. Naming a fear, even one that appeared as a faceless shadow, can begin to loosen its grip. And sometimes, simply knowing that nightmares are normal, part of a healthy dreaming life, can ease the fear because they are normal. Nearly everyone has them at some point. Children, especially, experience them often. But even adults drift into dark dreams from time to time. It doesn't mean you're broken, it means your brain is busy, active, working through things the only way it knows how, through story, sensation, and sometimes fear. Scientists still debate whether nightmares are an adaptive function or just a byproduct of emotional intensity. But what's clear is this: your dreaming mind is not passive. It doesn't sit quietly while you sleep. It moves, it explores, it tests boundaries, and sometimes it throws lightning across the sky, not to scare you, but to show you what lives in the dark. And when it does, your dream self runs or fights or freezes, just like you might in real life. But you're safe, always. The blankets hold you. The world outside remains still. Your brain may be staging storms, but your body is at rest. Eventually, the nightmare passes. The dream shifts. Something gentler takes its place. A new scene begins, and the fear, like a shadow at dawn, begins to thin. The shadows have softened. Whatever storm swept through your sleep has now passed, and you drift again, deeper this time, not into darkness, but into history. Behind the vivid colors of your dreams lies something even more ancient than the stories they tell. You're not the first to dream, not even close. Long before humans charted the stars or built cities, long before language or writing, creatures were dreaming. Your dream tonight, strange, symbolic, emotional, is part of a biological inheritance stretching back hundreds of millions of years. That's not a metaphor, that's evolutionary reality. Animals dream, they twitch in sleep, their eyes flicker beneath closed lids. Their brains show signs of cycles remarkably similar to our REM, from birds to reptiles, from dogs curled at the foot of the bed to octopuses pulsing in tidal sleep. The dreamscape is much older and far more universal than we once imagined. Consider the dog, chasing something in its sleep, paws twitching, nose flaring, or the cat with its tail flicking, whiskers jerking softly. These aren't random spasms. They're likely fragments of dreams, simulations, or rehearsals, much like our own. Research suggests mammals, and even some birds, experience REM sleep, and not just sleep for rest, sleep rich with story. Take the zebra finch. Scientists have recorded patterns in its brain during REM that mirror the exact neural sequences used when it sings while awake. It's as if the bird dreams of singing, practicing songs in sleep, refining melodies for dawn. It's not so different from how humans consolidate motor skills in dreams, practicing piano, dance, speech, even if only in our minds. Or consider the cuttlefish, that strange, unshifting master of camouflage. When it sleeps, its skin pulses with color, flashing patterns it used during the day. The body remembers. Perhaps the mind does too. No one knows for certain what a cephalopod dreams about, but the evidence suggests they do dream, and that fact alone is enough to stir awe. Even rats, in sleep, replay mazes they have run. Their hippocampi, the same memory structures we rely on, activate in patterns identical to their waking navigation. And just as in humans, these replays are not perfect recordings. They compress time, skip steps, sometimes reverse. The rat, in its dream, is editing, rewriting, just like you. So, what does this mean? It means dreaming is not a quirk of human consciousness. It's not some modern side effect of abstract thought. It's fundamental, woven into the architecture of brains across species. Your dreams, with all their wild metaphors and emotional depth, are built on neurological frameworks shared by creatures you've never met. You are dreaming with the world, and long before science ever tracked brainwaves or REM cycles, humans knew dreaming was important. Our ancestors gathered around fires and shared dreams. They carved symbols into cave walls. They painted dream beasts, half animal, half spirit, on stone. They saw dreams as messages from gods, from ancestors, from within. In some cultures, dreams weren't just entertainment or confusion. They were instruction, warnings, invitations. Ancient Egyptian texts speak of dreams as messages from the divine. The Greeks built temples where dreamers could sleep and seek visions. Indigenous cultures across the globe have long held dreams as sacred, tools for healing, paths to understanding the self, the land, the community, even today. In modern societies often ruled by speed and logic, people still wake from certain dreams feeling they've touched something deeper than thought. Scientists still debate how far back in evolutionary history dreams go, but many agree they're old, very old, perhaps as old as brains capable of remembering and anticipating. Perhaps dreaming evolved alongside consciousness, or even before it, a rehearsal hall for minds still learning how to navigate the waking world. In that way, dreaming may have been the first theater, the original canvas. Before humans painted or spoke or sang, perhaps we dreamed. Perhaps creativity began here, in the privacy of a brain in the dark, stitching symbols together in silence. And here you are now, participating in that same act. You are the continuation of a tradition older than language, a sleeping body in a still room, generating worlds from within, practicing, processing, imagining, just as your ancestors did, just as birds and rats and cephalopods do still. Your REM sleep may feel deeply personal, but it's also profoundly shared. Even the structure of your dream cycles echoes something natural, biological, planetary, waves within waves, sleep stages like tides, dreams rising and falling with internal moons. The rhythm is not yours alone. It belongs to life itself. And when you dream of flying, of falling, of running endlessly towards something, you're dreaming symbols that have appeared for generations. Cultures separated by oceans describe the same dream shapes: falling, teeth loosening, arriving late, seeing someone who's passed. These patterns appear again and again, across continents, across time. Why? Because the emotions behind them are universal: fear, desire, grief, hope. The shape of the dream may change, but the heartbeat beneath it stays the same. So tonight, as your dream self swims through layered scenes, remember this: You are not just processing your own day. You're participating in an ancient ritual, one that began long before you and will continue long after. You're tapping into a current shared by every creature that closes its eyes and lets go. Your ancestors dreamed beneath stars you'll never see. And still, somehow, you share the same sky. And then, without quite knowing how, you become aware that something unusual is happening. The dream world hasn't changed its texture or pace, but something inside you stirs, a tiny spark of recognition. You glance at the sky in your dream and think, this doesn't feel real. Not with fear, not with panic, just curiosity. And in that instant, the boundary between dreamer and dream begins to shift. You're on the edge of what scientists and dreamers alike call lucid dreaming, a rare and fascinating state in which you become aware, within the dream, that you are dreaming. It doesn't happen often. For most people, it's occasional, fleeting. But when it does occur, it can be strangely exhilarating. Suddenly, you're not just drifting through a story. You're conscious inside it. You can ask questions, make decisions, sometimes even change the scene. The dream becomes not just something that happens to you, but something you engage with. Like becoming both actor and director on a stage you didn't even realize had curtains. The moment of lucidity is delicate, for many. The awareness lasts only a few seconds before the dream dissolves or slips back into unconsciousness. The mind gets excited, the heart races, the dream fades. But for others, especially those who've practiced, lucidity can last longer. Some people even train themselves to induce it, using techniques like reality checks, intention setting before sleep, or waking briefly in the early hours to re-enter REM with conscious awareness. But how does lucidity happen? Scientists believe it's tied to unusual activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-awareness, logic, and decision-making. During normal REM sleep, this area goes quiet. That's why dreams feel so strange and unquestioned. But in lucid dreaming, it lights up, partially, not fully, creating a hybrid state. You're still dreaming, but you're also aware. It's like waking up inside the theater without leaving your seat. And in that state, incredible things can unfold. You might fly, not fall upward, but choose to fly. You might decide to walk through a wall, or speak to a person you've lost, or explore an environment crafted entirely by your imagination, shifting and shimmering as you move through it. You're not fully in control, not in the way you might wish, but you have influence, and that influence can feel profound. Some people use lucid dreams for exploration, others for healing, others still just for fun, soaring above cities, swimming with whales, painting the sky with a thought. There's no rule book, no required quest. You do what feels natural, and the dream responds, sometimes in surprising ways. And yet, even in lucidity, the dream world maintains its mystery. You can't control everything. The deeper structures of the dream, the characters, the moods, the shifting logic, still operate according to subconscious rules. You might ask a question and get a strange answer. You might try to open a door and find it leads somewhere you didn't expect. The dream responds, yes, but not always obediently. That's part of the beauty. Lucid dreaming shows you that your subconscious is not just a storage room for memory. It's a living, creative force. It reacts. It resists, it surprises, it teaches, and sometimes it says things you didn't know you needed to hear. In one famous case, A lucid dreamer asked a figure in their dream, "What do you represent?" And the figure replied, "You already know. You just forgot." Was it real? Not in the waking world sense. But was it true? Maybe. Lucid dreams walk the line between psychology and poetry. Their meaning isn't always clear, but the experience lingers. Some researchers believe lucid dreaming can help with nightmares, offering a way to confront or rewrite frightening dreams. Others study it for insights into consciousness itself, what it means to be aware, and how that awareness can fluctuate across states of mind. There are even experiments where lucid dreamers have communicated with scientists while asleep, using prearranged eye movements during REM to signal they've become lucid. The results are startling and very real, but lucidity is not always comfortable. For some, becoming aware in a dream leads to confusion or fear. The sense of control can feel thrilling one moment and overwhelming the next. You might become stuck in a loop or wake suddenly, unsure of what was real. The boundary between waking and dreaming becomes thin, and not everyone enjoys walking that edge. Still, for those who experience it, lucidity opens a door, not just to freedom within a dream, but to deeper questions. What is the self? Where does awareness begin? How much of what we believe to be real is shaped by context, by assumption, by habit? These aren't just philosophical curiosities. They matter. Because when you realize you're dreaming, you realize, perhaps for the first time, that perception is flexible, that meaning is fluid, that even in the most private, surreal corners of your mind, you can still ask questions, and sometimes get answers, even if you never have a lucid dream, even if you simply drift through dreams without awareness. This possibility exists within you. That spark, that moment of realization, it's a testament to how strange and rich the sleeping mind truly is. So tonight, if you find yourself looking around in a dream and something doesn't feel quite right, pause, ask yourself, am I dreaming? The answer might surprise you, or it might fade as quickly as it came. Either way, the door remains open. And beyond that door, your dream self continues the journey, sometimes conscious, sometimes not, through landscapes shaped by memory, emotion, and mystery. You don't have to control it. You just have to follow where it leads. And sometimes, that journey takes a turn, a twist so strange, your body gets involved without your permission. One moment, you're asleep and dreaming. The next, your legs move. Your hand reaches out. Maybe you sit up, speak, or even walk across the room. You're not awake, but you're not fully still either. This is the world of parasomnias, strange sleep behaviors that occur when dream logic leaks into the body. The most famous of these is sleepwalking, when the brain remains in deep sleep, but parts of the motor system temporarily wake. You might rise from bed and shuffle around your room. You might open a door, turn on a light, move through familiar spaces with an eerie calm. Your eyes are open, but you're not truly seeing, and you won't remember any of it in the morning. Sleepwalking typically occurs during non-REM sleep, specifically in the deep, slow-wave stages that come earlier in the night. Unlike lucid dreaming, where consciousness lights up in REM, sleepwalking is more like your brain tripping over its own wiring. Some circuits stay asleep, others, inexplicably, turn on. The result? A body that moves while the mind stays mostly silent. Children sleepwalk more than adults, likely due to immature neural pathways that haven't yet fully learned how to keep motor systems in check during sleep. But adults can experience it too, often triggered by stress, sleep deprivation, or changes in medication. For some, it happens only once or twice. For others, it becomes a recurring nighttime visitor, unpredictable and uninvited. And sleepwalking isn't the only way dreams creep into the body. There's sleep talking, where fragments of dream dialogue escape through the mouth, half-formed and strange. There's REM sleep behavior disorder, a condition where the usual muscle paralysis of REM fails to activate, allowing people to physically act out their dreams. They might punch, kick, shout, not out of malice, but in sync with dream events they cannot control. Imagine dreaming you're in a fight and your arm jerks forward in real life. Imagine trying to run from danger and your legs actually move beneath the covers. These events can be startling, sometimes dangerous, but they reveal something fascinating. The thin, fragile membrane between the mind's inner world and the body's real one. Your brain normally keeps those worlds separate. It silences the muscles during REM to keep you safe. But when that system slips, when a barrier fails, you glimpse how easily dream can spill into reality. And sometimes, reality seeps into dreams just as forcefully. Have you ever dozed off in an unfamiliar place, say, a train or a plane, and dreamed that you were still sitting there? You saw the same window, the same seat, the same hum of motion, but something was off. Maybe the train was underwater. Maybe the person beside you had no face. That's your brain incorporating real sensory data, the feeling of motion, the sound of the engine, into a dream narrative. It's like layering paint on top of a live canvas. Or consider this: a loud noise in your room, a door slamming, a dog barking, weaves itself into your dream before you wake. The sound becomes part of the story. A thunderclap in a nightmare, a voice in the distance. The timing is so fast, it feels pre-scripted, as if the dream anticipated the sound before it happened. This blending of external and internal isn't accidental. Your brain is constantly filtering stimuli, even while asleep. It chooses which ones to ignore and which to incorporate. Most are muted by the thalamus, your brain's gatekeeper, but some sneak through, especially if they're sudden, loud, or emotionally charged. That's why your alarm clock might become a siren in your dream, or why someone calling your name might appear as a character, only for you to realize, just as you wake, that it wasn't the dream speaking, it was your partner, or a roommate, or someone knocking on your door. And then there's the experience of false awakening, a peculiar twist in the sleep story where you think you've woken up, but haven't. You might dream of rising from bed, brushing your teeth, starting your day, only to realize, much later, that you're still asleep. It's jarring, sometimes unsettling. Your brain simulates waking with such precision that your dream self becomes convinced it's real. In these moments, reality feels unstable. You question what's true, what's imagined, where the borders are. And that questioning doesn't always vanish when you open your eyes. It leaves you with a strange kind of wonder. If your brain can build a version of your room so perfect you believe it's real, what else can it create? If your muscles can act out a dream, and your dreams can react to real sounds, where exactly do you end and your dream begin? Scientists still debate what drives these phenomena. Why do some people sleepwalk, while others dream silently? Why do some experience multiple false awakenings in one night, while others never do? As always, there are theories, Genetic predisposition, stress, trauma, neurological quirks. But no single answer explains it all. And maybe that's okay. Maybe part of the dream's power is that it resists neat definition, that it keeps one foot in biology and the other in mystery, that even as we map brainwaves and neurotransmitters, there are still places in the sleeping mind we can't fully explain, only observe. You might not remember your sleep talk. You might never know what you did during that 10-minute sleepwalk. But the idea that your body and mind, even in their most vulnerable, unguarded state, are still trying to connect, still reaching for coherence, is strangely comforting. It means something inside you is always watching, always translating, always responding. And tonight, as you lie still in bed, your body remembers what it needs to do. It stays quiet. It keeps you safe. Your muscles relax. The separation between dream and movement holds. But somewhere out there, another dream's self stirs, half in, half out, reaching, reacting, and the story continues. Somewhere between the dreaming self and the silent observer, you begin to wonder, is it possible to record this? To take these flickering scenes, these melting shapes and whispered feelings, and capture them in a way that makes sense? It's an old question, almost whimsical, but one that modern science is beginning to take seriously. What if we could look inside your sleeping brain and see your dreams? For years, this idea lived squarely in the realm of science fiction. Machines that read thoughts, devices that project dreams onto screens. Fascinating, but impossible. And yet, in the last 2 decades, technology has crept closer to turning speculation into experiment. It begins with brain imaging. Functional MRI, or fMRI, allows researchers to observe blood flow in the brain, tracking which regions are active at any given moment. It's not a photograph of thought, but more like a heat map, a way of identifying where the mind is working. Combine this with EEG, which measures electrical activity across the scalp, and you get a clearer picture of what the sleeping brain is doing, moment by moment. Using these tools, scientists have begun to correlate specific brain patterns with dream content. For instance, when a person reports dreaming about faces, the fusiform face area, a region involved in facial recognition, shows increased activity. When someone dreams of motion, the brain's motion processing centers light up. These are small steps, but they suggest that parts of the brain behave in recognizable, trackable ways, even when the dream itself remains private. In one landmark study, researchers asked participants to sleep inside an fMRI scanner. During brief awakenings, the participants reported what they'd just been dreaming about. The scientists compared those reports with the patterns of brain activity recorded just before waking. Over time, they built a kind of dictionary, associating specific neural signals with specific dream elements. The results were astonishing. Using only brain data, they could guess, with some accuracy, what general themes had occurred in a person's dream. It wasn't mind reading, not exactly, but it was something close, a peek through the keyhole of the subconscious. More recent experiments have gone further. Some labs are experimenting with machine learning algorithms, training computers to interpret complex brain data and reconstruct visual information. In one experiment, subjects watched a series of videos while their brain activity was recorded. Later, the AI was able to generate blurry, ghost-like versions of what they'd seen, purely from the recorded signals. Now, imagine applying that to dreams. What might your brain's internal cinema look like if rendered back into light? Of course, we're far from being able to watch dreams in full clarity. What we have are fragments, impressions, shapes, echoes, but even these are remarkable. They remind us that dreams aren't just emotional or metaphorical, they're biological, and they leave footprints, not just in memory, but in the measurable rhythms of your brain. But there's another layer to all of this, one that asks not just can we see dreams, but should we? Dreams are private, intimate. They reveal things we might not say aloud. They twist our feelings into strange shapes. They stage rehearsals we didn't choose. If we one day gain the ability to decode dreams fully, what does that mean for the self? What happens when our innermost world is no longer silent? Some dream researchers warn of ethical dilemmas. Who owns the data of a dream? Should it be shared, interpreted, used in therapy, used in court? It's not hard to imagine a future where dream analysis becomes commercial, medical, or even legal. And like all technologies that touch the mind, dream recording invites questions about boundaries. Still, for many, the idea remains more poetic than practical. We may never fully capture a dream, not in its textures, its contradictions, its strange internal logic. A dream is not a movie. It's not a slideshow of clear scenes. It's a feeling made visual, a story made of fog, and perhaps it loses something in translation. Even if one day we can see what you dreamed, the hallway, the face, the forest made of paper, we still might not understand why you dreamed it. The emotional code may remain locked, the meaning still yours alone, and maybe that's how it should be. Because part of what makes dreams powerful is that they belong entirely to you. They arrive without permission, unfold without explanation, and vanish without apology. Even your dream self doesn't get to keep them. They're gifts, or riddles, or both, shaped by memory, emotion, biology, and mystery. Still, the science marches on. Some researchers now use lucid dreamers as collaborators, guiding them to signal when they've become aware during sleep, so that the lab can record data in real time. Imagine that. Someone inside a dream, moving their eyes left, right, left to say, I know I'm dreaming, while machines quietly capture the electrical echo of that realization. It's surreal, and yet it's happening. Other experiments use TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation, to gently influence brain activity during sleep, with the hope of inducing lucidity or affecting dream content. We are not just watching dreams now. We're learning how to nudge them. And still, every night, without a machine, without an algorithm, your brain creates stories all on its own, complex, emotional, absurd, beautiful. You don't need technology to prove that your dreams are real. You feel it, in the moment, in the morning, in the subtle ways the day feels different after a certain kind of sleep. So, tonight, as you slip into REM once again, your brain will spin new stories. Some you'll remember, some you won't, but they will all leave traces in your body, in your mood, in the faint residue of feeling that clings to you long after the dream ends. And who knows, maybe one day you'll wake up, look at a screen, and see what your sleeping mind created. But even then, it won't match what you saw, because some things live only inside you. And yet, long before we had brain scans or neural dictionaries, people tried to understand dreams another way, through meaning, across centuries and civilizations. Dreams have been treated not just as passing curiosities, but as messages, clues, symbols, sometimes divine, sometimes personal, often confusing. Whether through ancient rituals or modern interpretations, humanity has always asked the same quiet question: what do dreams mean? You've likely wondered that too. Maybe after waking from a dream that felt too specific to ignore. Maybe after the same dream repeated for the third time in a month. Or maybe after one that seemed to say something to you. Not with words, but with imagery that hung around long after the morning sun. Of course, modern science tends to be cautious about assigning too much meaning to dream content. Dreams are created by a mind without access to full rational control. They are shaped by emotion, memory, and biology. But that doesn't mean they're meaningless. It just means that meaning in dreams doesn't follow the same rules as it does in waking life. Take symbols, for example. A house in your dream isn't just a house. It might be your childhood home. It might be your mind, your body, your past. It might change shape from room to room. The basement could represent fear, the attic, forgotten memories. These interpretations aren't set in stone. They depend on you, your associations, your culture, your experiences. The same dream image can mean something entirely different to someone else. Some people turn to dream dictionaries, books or websites that list supposed meanings for common dream elements. Teeth falling out means anxiety. Flying means freedom. Being chased means avoidance. These guides can be fun, even helpful, but they're not universal truths. They're suggestions, metaphors, starting points for personal reflection. Because the real meaning of a dream comes from how it makes you feel, not what it shows. You might dream of a snake and feel calm, curious. Someone else might dream of a snake and feel terror. Which one is the right meaning? There isn't one. It's yours to decide. And yet, patterns do emerge. People across time and place report similar dream themes: falling, being unprepared, losing something, encountering someone they've lost. These themes may tap into shared emotional experiences: the fear of failure, the longing for connection, the tension between past and present. Dreams reveal not just what's happening in your brain, but what's stirring in your life. Even recurring dreams, those that return again and again, sometimes over years, can point to emotions or questions that haven't yet been resolved. The same hallway, the same unsolvable puzzle, the same feeling of being stuck, or lost, or too late. These dreams aren't trying to torment you. They may simply be your brain's way of saying, pay attention. Something here needs tending. Some therapists work with dream analysis as a tool in therapy, not to interpret dreams literally, but to use them as doorways into discussion. A dream can reveal an emotion that hasn't been named, a conflict that hasn't been faced, a truth that's easier to explore in symbols than in plain language. You don't need to solve a dream to benefit from it. Sometimes, just talking about it opens something inside you. Of course, not all dreams feel deep or symbolic. Some are pure nonsense: a chicken wearing sunglasses, a staircase that smells like mint, a dance contest between furniture. These dreams are likely products of the brain's tendency to improvise, to remix thoughts and sensations into surreal little sketches. But even these may have emotional undercurrents. A silly dream can leave you feeling joyful, or unsettled, or strangely nostalgic. That emotional residue matters. Dreams can shift your mood, set a tone for the day. Sometimes they help you process feelings you didn't know you had. You wake up lighter, for reasons you can't explain, or heavier, with something unspoken on your chest. Scientists still debate how much meaning dreams truly hold. Are they mental rehearsals, emotional regulators, random noise with lucky patterns, or something else entirely? What we do know is that dreams come from you. They are made from the language of your life, your fears, your longings, your memories, your joys. That doesn't make them oracles, but it does make them worth noticing. You don't have to believe in dream symbolism to be changed by a dream. You just have to feel it. You might wake with the sentence still echoing in your mind, or an image, or just a sensation, like the dream taught you something. Even if you're not sure what, that feeling is real, and it's yours. That's the meaning, if there is one, not in the symbols, but in the shift. And sometimes, dreams offer comfort. You see someone you lost, they don't speak, but they're there. Their presence calms you. Or maybe they say the one thing you needed to hear. Maybe they smile. Maybe they just sit beside you, and then they're gone. But something in you is different, not fixed, not explained, just softened. These dreams don't ask to be interpreted. They ask to be felt. Whether dreams come to solve problems or simply clear space, they're worth paying attention to. Not because they hold absolute truth, but because they hold your truth in a language only you can understand. So, maybe the next time you wake from a strange dream, the kind that lingers in your chest like mist, you pause, you write it down, or sit with it, or just say, "That was weird," and smile to yourself, because it came from you, because it's trying, in its own odd way, to speak. And then, after all the symbols and shadows, all the flickers of memory and impossible places, something inside you shifts again. It's almost imperceptible. A flicker, a softening, a gentle pull from somewhere far away. You don't know what time it is. You don't even know what day it is. But your body does. It's beginning to stir. You're approaching the final cycles of sleep, where REM and lighter stages blend more fluidly. The dreams here are different, looser, slower, like echoes of everything that came before. They don't push for clarity or urgency. They drift, they dissolve. They linger like fog along a shoreline. You're not quite done dreaming, but the journey is changing. This is when your brain begins to slowly bring systems back online. Not all at once, not with a jolt, but piece by piece. Your core temperature starts to rise. Stress hormones begin to tick upward, gently preparing your body for alertness. Your heartbeat, once steady and low, begins to lift ever so slightly. The machinery of wakefulness doesn't come crashing in. It whispers first. And while this is happening, your dream self is still wandering, still shifting through half-formed spaces, part memory, part invention. You may revisit scenes from earlier in the night, but with different details. The hallway becomes a river. The old friend becomes a stranger with familiar eyes. Or the entire landscape flattens into stillness, and you just float. No action, no plot, just presence. These final REM dreams often feel deeply emotional, not in the dramatic way, not like the chase, the fall, the fire, but in a quieter, more reflective tone. You might dream of saying goodbye, of arriving somewhere, of watching something end. Some researchers call these dreams transitional. They help prepare your mind emotionally for the coming shift, from inward to outward, from night to day, from dreaming to waking, And during these moments, you might feel things without any narrative at all, a sense of peace, of closure, of sadness, of readiness. Sometimes these emotions come with images. Other times, they come on their own, just a feeling, hovering beneath awareness, setting the tone for how the day will begin. Your brain is still busy, of course, even as it starts its descent back to consciousness. It's finishing up its overnight work. Memory files are being tucked into storage. Emotional pathways are being cleared of residue. Attention networks begin to hum again, preparing to receive new input. You won't feel any of this, but you'll live it in how easily you recall a name, or solve a puzzle, or forgive someone, or laugh at something small. And as you hover in this final phase, your dream self may do something unexpected, something simple. Sit, watch, listen. These last dreams often have a slower rhythm, a softer edge. It's like the lights are dimming, not out of loss, but out of gentleness. You've traveled far tonight, through stories and symbols, through fear and wonder, through your own hidden rooms. Now, the dream is saying, you've seen enough for now. Scientists still study these late-stage dreams with fascination. Some believe they play a role in emotional integration, not just processing past events, but connecting the inner world with the outer one. They might help set intentions, reaffirm identity, re-anchor you after a night of shifting selves. Others think these dreams reflect a final sweep, the brain's way of wrapping up narrative threads, like putting down the pen at the end of a long letter. And sometimes, these last dreams offer answers, not in the form of logic, but in the form of knowing. You may wake with a feeling that something has resolved, not solved, just settled. A softness where a knot once was, a sigh in the place of a question. These are gifts your conscious mind didn't ask for, but your subconscious worked toward anyway. As the end of sleep approaches, sleep inertia begins to build. That's the term scientists use for the groggy, heavy sensation of crossing back into wakefulness. It's not a malfunction, it's a feature, your brain easing out of the dream state so that you don't crash into the day like a runner hitting a wall. It's the slow opening of a door, not a push. And you've likely felt this before, that delicate moment between dream and wake, when the world seems layered. You hear something in the real world, but it takes a moment to register. You open your eyes, but your thoughts are still far away. You lie still, not because you can't move, but because something inside you doesn't want to just yet. This is a sacred moment. Your body is ready to rise. Your brain is switching modes, but part of you is still elsewhere, still brushing up against the edge of the dream. You may carry an image from that place into the morning, not clearly, but like a scent, like a color you can't name. You won't remember the whole story, but something in you remembers the feeling of it, and that's enough. That feeling might stay with you all day. It might fade by breakfast. It might return that night when you lie down again. But it's there. A soft impression left by a mind that never stopped moving, even while you slept. Scientists can measure so much of what happens in your brain overnight. Waves, chemicals, spikes of activity. But what they can't measure is this: the way your inner world gently sets you down at the edge of consciousness. The way a dream, even unremembered, shapes the tone of your day. The way your body knows how to come back, not with violence, but with grace. And so, as this final REM dream unspools, slowly, delicately, your breath deepens. Your muscles shift, your senses awaken, one by one, light filters through your eyelids, sound sharpens, and your dream self, who has traveled with you through the entire night, begins to dissolve, not disappear. Just rest. They'll be back when night falls again, when the brain closes its outer windows and opens its inner ones, when the stories begin again. But for now, you are almost awake. Almost. And now, gently, you cross the final threshold, not with a startle, not with a jolt, just a quiet shift from dreaming to waking, from the inner world to the outer one. Your body stretches without thinking, your breath deepens, your eyes flutter, then open. The ceiling, the light, the shape of the room, it all returns to you slowly, like a memory unfolding in reverse. You're awake, but not all at once. Part of your mind still lingers in that other place, a foot still dipped in the stream of dreaming. You might not remember the story, but you remember the feeling, the texture, that strange blend of logic and emotion, of symbol and silence, the way it made you feel seen, even if no one else was there. This is the quiet after the journey, a pause between worlds. You lie still, not out of fatigue, but because movement feels too sudden. As if your body remembers the pace of dreams and isn't quite ready for gravity again. And so, for a few precious moments, you rest in that liminal light, between night and morning, between thought and doing, between memory and meaning. Your brain, meanwhile, is humming. The systems are fully operational now. Attention networks re-engaged, language centers reactivated. The prefrontal cortex, that brilliant, fussy executive, is back online, eager to start naming, organizing, deciding. It wants to make sense of everything, but not everything will make sense. Not yet. That's because dreams don't download like files. They don't arrive in full. They drift in pieces. A color here, a phrase, an image without context. You try to remember, but the more you reach, the more it fades, like mist dispersing under sunlight. You think, wait, wasn't I? But the sentence never finishes. That's okay. It's not failure. It's how memory works after sleep. Scientists call this rapid forgetting, and it's completely normal. Dream content, unless anchored by strong emotion or a sudden awakening, tends to dissolve. Your brain prioritizes the architecture of the dream, the emotional tone, the chemical resets, the processing, not the narrative. It's not that the story didn't matter. It's just that remembering it isn't the point. Living it was, and still, some mornings, a dream does remain, clear or almost. A face you haven't seen in years, a landscape your waking mind could never invent, a word or idea that seems important, though you don't know why. These moments are treasures, not because they hold secrets, but because they remind you that your inner world is always moving, always speaking, even when you sleep. Some people write their dreams down, others paint them, others simply carry them for a few hours, then let them go. There's no right way to honor a dream. You don't need to analyze or interpret it unless you want to. Sometimes the act of remembering is enough. A small way of saying, yes, I heard you. And if you don't remember anything, that's okay too. You still dreamed. Your brain still worked through the night, quietly tending to thoughts and feelings and memory. It's like a garden you never saw being watered, but that still blooms. So now, as you stretch again and feel your feet touch the ground, take a moment, just a breath. You've crossed through a world, multiple worlds. Really? Some built from memory, some from hope, some from fragments too small to name. You've wandered with your dream self, who doesn't speak your language but understands your heart, who follows emotions instead of directions, who is always with you, even when forgotten. And what your brain has done across these past hours is nothing short of remarkable. It has cycled through light and deep stages. It has repaired tissue, balanced hormones, filed memories, regulated emotion, rehearsed possibilities, and spun stories out of silence, all while you lay still. You've experienced sleep in full, from that drifting descent into stage 1, through the rhythms of stage 2, into the stillness of slow wave sleep, and back again into the vivid theater of REM. You've seen what happens when the self fragments and reforms, when emotion becomes image, when meaning is born from metaphor. You've met yourself in a dozen versions, each one real in its own way. And maybe, just maybe, something from the dream remains, a soft resolve, a quiet insight, a sense of movement, or peace, or clarity. You don't need to explain it, you just need to notice it. Let it accompany you, like a hand resting on your shoulder. No words, just presence. Your body is waking now. The light is brighter, the room more defined. You may have errands to run, emails to answer, people to meet. The world will start asking things of you soon. But before it does, take one last breath and thank yourself for this journey. Because sleep is not just rest, it's restoration, creation, exploration. It's where your mind does its deepest work, quietly, bravely, invisibly, and dreams are not distractions. They're a part of the process, a way for your brain to speak in colors and symbols, a place where you can be afraid and safe at the same time, lost and found, whole and transforming. So, as you sit up and greet the day, you carry something rare with you, not the full memory, not the map, but the impact, the echo, the quiet knowledge that no matter how ordinary your day becomes, your inner life is vast. And tonight, when you return to sleep, it will all begin again, different yet familiar, unknown yet yours. Your dream self will be waiting. So now, here you are, still, quiet, and safe. The journey through sleep and dreams has taken you across strange landscapes, down into memory, through symbols, and back again. You've wandered corridors that don't exist, spoken with people who aren't here, and felt things your waking mind may never fully understand. But that's the magic of it, isn't it? Sleep isn't a pause, it's a passage. Your brain has done its work, gently, silently, restoring what's frayed, filing what's scattered, and softening what felt sharp. You don't need to remember the details. You don't even need to try. What matters is that you were there. You moved through something important, even if you don't have words for it yet. So, let the last thoughts fade now. Let your breathing slow again, just a little. Feel the bed beneath you, the softness of the blanket, the steady rhythm of your heartbeat. This is your quiet place, your reset. And if you're already drifting off again, good. Let it happen. There's no need to hold on to anything, no need to analyze. You've earned the peace, the rest, the release. Let your body melt into stillness. Let your thoughts dissolve like stars fading at dawn. You are safe here. You are whole here. And you are ready for whatever tomorrow brings, gently, softly, and fully rested. Sweet dreams.